Welcome to Warblog. Today I'm looking at the road to Slovyansk. Essentially the Russians are sort of coming down here and through here and down in towards Slovyansk. I'm not sure why they got there yet. Couldn't quite really catch up with what's happening. It's all a bit strange. But the interesting thing about this is that there's this river. It's only got one bridge, but I haven't put any engineers in, so you can't destroy it. It's not an option. Obviously, you might be able to, but if I start putting engineers in, then I could have to put the Russians engineers, and they would just build bridges everywhere. And so it's a quick and cheerful setup. So, because obviously, if you had engineers, then you could just sort of make a bridgehead anywhere. But this might make for a more interesting game with one bridge, but which is sort of how it looks as though it is, but anyway, I'm just going to sort of get straight into it. The other scenario I've got is actually this one here, Lian. Come on, computer is just being slow. Okay. Oh, let's use this colour. I think you always use red. Okay, so we sort of start off there, but I think we've got to sort of come and take this, which is what the other scenario is. Then you've got sort of some choices to come sort of down here and or dedicate something to here. Well, obviously there's no engineers, so then you've got to come down and battle for this. But the main crux of this really is there's two parts, clearly. Let's use purple. There's this part, 1, and then there's this part, 2, before and after the river. So you can sort of be separate sort of elements of these things operation. I'm really not sure what's happening. I wouldn't want to say this is what's happening, but what I have read is that because I haven't really read anything, it's hard for me to keep up with things at the moment because I'm sort of a bit preoccupied with, I don't know, other things. But basically, what I read was that the Ukrainians are losing sort of 600 soldiers a day, 100 dead and 500 wounded. And these are just headlines, because obviously the headlines are just a load of nonsense, really. But when they start leading with headlines like that, you start to wonder, you know, what that means. But the other thing that I read was that they were sort of saying for every 10 bullets we fire, they fire 100. So obviously they're outnumbered 10 to 1. Outgunned 10 to 1. You know, all the stuff about them sort of sending long-range missile capability, I think is a bit irrelevant. I mean, I think what's happening is they're sending it, as I said, I'm not really keeping it up to speed with it as much as I should, but they keep sending it, talking about sending lots of equipment, but it seems rather pointless sending equipment because it will just get blown up. You know, they say there's in 10 of these or 20 of these. You know, you need army formations. That's what they need. They're sending equipment I can't see that really doing much, because the moment you roll anything into the battlefield, it's going to be a target. Anything that's rolling, anything that's sort of green coloured, military green, is going to get blown up. And it's really a case of, I don't know, it just seems to me like they're all skeleton crews. You know, they show these trench lines and they're not full of soldiers. The trench lines look empty. You know, why are they having such a problem? Because no one wants to mass, no one wants to congregate, I don't think, because they just get blown up. Although I did see them firing a lot of rockets, and seemingly missing everything. I don't know why they continue using rockets, because they keep missing the trenches. They land everywhere but the trenches. I was beginning to wonder what that sort of really meant, really. But anyway, we're coming down here so we're really redoing the Battle of Lehman there. Now the thing is, it looks quite sparse, but these irregulars are quite tough in here. Oh, look, we can get some rockets straight off. There's a lot of them in there, like some rockets, anti-tank units. So I think we're going to target the rockets at the very least. I've not put any air defences in because I decided to keep it a bit sparse and easy to do. No effect. That's unusual. 6.25, we hit it that time. Let's reconsider what we do with the helicopters. I haven't given the Russians a lot of drones or air power, just balance things out. So we'll sort of hit that. Let's just at least take these rockets out. We should get quite good odds here. Oh, we've got some rockets left. 7 to 1. We knocked them back, but we didn't seem to do. Did we do any damage? Yeah, 3. Okay. But we've got some rockets somewhere. Where are they? There they are. Let's see if we can take this out. Yeah, we got them. So we see, that's what happens, generally speaking, and that's sort of what I wanted to simulate a little. You know, as soon as some rocket unit appears, it will get blown up. I think what's hard are these little irregular units in the urban built-up. That's why I've given them lots of these. And to represent, you know, for every one of these, there's 5 of those. Well, that's all probably 10 to 1 odds on that sort of front. So we can't really, well, the Ukrainians can't really attack the Russians. But the Russians are going to have a tough time attacking these. And that's why it's going so slowly, because they're having to deal with just these little irregular units doing what they do best. Now, I sort of want to move him out as well. I'm not sure. I mean, we're focusing on this. So let's suppose this was our first objective. And we're sort of trying to do it maybe, you know, properly with the resources that we got. And let's just see what these helicopters do on this irregular unit. 0.5 damage, just do it again. Quarter strength. 5. Now down to 1 depression. Now what we can do here is push him there. Let's at least attack these rocket units. We should again get a DE. Which puts them at 6 depressions. Could chase them. I want to attack this unit. Let's just see what we get, because they should have quite good numbers there. And if we can't beat them with 3 mechanized companies, we have 2 to 1, and just an exchange. 2 to 1 is not bad odds, but I mean, that I think is quite key and representative of how I see things happening in the sort of city areas, and that's why they're going quite slowly, because they didn't really, well, they were caused a lot of damage. So this one unit has caused a lot of pain. So we're really going to have to sort of actually pummel it with the artillery before we can really start doing anything. But we've got other units, and I think we want to start to sort of consider what we want to do with them. Let's just see how far we can get. This is actually quite a good computer, but Microsoft keeps wanting to update it. It's always updating it. It's just what it's doing. It's probably just sort of updating right now. It's got the little red thing that shows that it wants to update. Your device needs to restart to import. Can't read. Your device needs to restart to install important updates. I don't want your important updates. Go away. I like my computer as it is without updates. clunking away. Clunk, clunk, clunk. We should get 2-1 again on this. And maybe we'll win. I was actually just looking at I can't believe this. I was just looking at some news. Call of Duty. Please stop being so slow. Oh, look at that, 3-1, so we got the DAE. So I think those two battles are representative of how I see the things happening in the cities. It's difficult, it's tough. You sort of got the odds, but they can hold you back. You know, they're not big units. Where did he go? He went down there. Oh no, he couldn't have gone down there. He must be in here. 3, depression's 3. Right, okay. Okay, so that's sort of that, really. Yeah, but what I saw, what was it? It was Call of Duty. And it just looked... It really frustrates me. Because I can remember, I never ever had an Xbox. Never. Well, I say that because I did. I bought one. But I never had an Xbox for years and years. And it always looked really good. And I always felt like I was missing something out, but I was always determined not to buy it because it was an expense and, you know, I was sort of disciplined and I waste money on lots of things, but somehow I felt I was accomplishing something by not wasting my money and time on an Xbox. And I can remember once feeling particularly sort of in awe of the Black Ops, the Call of Duty Black Ops, and it just looked really good. And I thought, oh, this must be so good. It's Black Ops, you know, and they had, and well, about, I don't know, it must have been about 4 or 5 years ago. I bought an old Xbox. It was like the one they got out now. It was just when they bought the new one out. I bought the old Xbox off of eBay, and I must have bought about 50 or 60 games, including most of the Call of Duty games, and they are just so crap. And I actually got that Black Ops game, and it's so crap. They run on what I call tram lines. You know, you have to go by a certain way. And sometimes there's 2 routes, but it's always the same. You can almost sort of like not bother playing and just let the rest of the team do it until you've got to blow the tank up. Get the RPG and blow the tank up. Quick, blow the tank up. Oh, I have a prompt. I've got to do something. So I've got to figure out how to blow the tank up. You know, you can't get by unless you actually do it. And there are all these sorts of strange things. But the thing is, they sell it on the graphics. And I saw this thing, you know, this sort of video of the latest release of Call of Duty. And it looks almost film-like. And it's just such crap. It's going to be exactly the same thing. But they're inside this APC. And they're all being really cool and macho and like they're not worried about anything. Well, the first thing, what I wanted to do was not necessarily bring some realism into it, but I just thought, you know, I do want, you know, I just think that, well, what should have happened is the APC should have just got blown up, and they should have got blown up completely before they'd even got out, because that's what happens in war. You know, you see all these videos of all the Russian APCs blown up beside the road. And that's what happened. They got caught by some sort of missile, and I think they're in the Middle East, so maybe they don't have them. But they definitely have the ATGMs, the anti-tank missile, whatever you call them. You know, it must be really unnerving being in back of those APCs. And secondly, again, my pet hate with all that Call of Duty is not everyone in the army is in the infantry. You know, I want a Call of Duty where you are in the Royal Corps of Transport, and it's your job to drive lorries about. You know, that's all they do. They drive lorries, logistics, catering, supplies, troops, and towing things, and that's it. And you hardly ever shoot anyone. Or you know, Call of Duty, you know, artillery. You know, Spike Milligan, the famous English comedian, he was in the artillery, and it's always an interesting one because you never really get too close to the enemy, but you're going to get a lot of air strikes on you. But it's like there are other elements to the, you know, the Royal Catering Corps. Go to the front and make some sausages and beans. Quick, make some sausages and beans. And you've got to make the sausages and beans. If you don't make them right, soldiers get diarrhea and all die in combat. You know, so again, and they're so calm in the back as though they've actually got any say in the fate of what's going to happen to them. They don't. You know, I think the D-Day film got it right a little bit from what I can recall. Maybe it's just my imagination. When the landing boat sort of opens its doors, they all get shot because the Germans have trained their machine guns on these landing boats, and as soon as the doors drop down, they're just filled with machine gun fire. And you might, I mean, I don't know what the scenario is about, but you know, this Call of Duty thing, it's sort of, I don't know, it just seems to me to be really not what I would advise anyone to play and to waste their youth on. They should play Warblock, because at least you have to think a bit, and I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to go on to the next turn. So, now what they're going to do, because he doesn't want to stay there. Now, what is going to be the best defense? So we want to move these rockets away. They can move away and fire. If we swap these around, at least we'll sort of so that blocks that. Or no more movement, we can still fire. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So we sort of pushed our way out a bit, but it's not too much. So we can fire on that. So we've done some damage to it. Right. Now they've got a defensive force, we can attack them. Let's see what 2 irregular units, let's push them back there, can do against this 1 unit in light urban. 1-to-1. See, they got a 1-to-1. We failed on a 2-to-1, and they got a 1-to-1 and got a DR. So that sort of pushed the Russians back a bit, causing them some physical damage. 2 of these units will get a 1-to-1, which I think is good odds for the nature of what's going on there. And I think that's sort of the balance that you sort of need for sort of the urban combat. You can do it, but it's risky. But we've got the anti-tank units. So I think we're going to try with that as well. We might be able to get these in the open. Let's see what we can do. One. 1.8, pushing him down to 3.6. Let's just try to stack this up here so we can get this lot into here. 3-to-1 at DR. I thought we'd have some more space to attack that, but maybe not, obviously not. Gotta protect those anti-tank units. So I'm going to stay there. Don't want to attack that on my own. But I've got other units. I've got rockets. Let's fire some rockets from here. Point 4. So do we want to bring these forward? So they might look as though they're being clever at the moment, but it's just the first turn. Because this is all going to be pushed back eventually and bringing these things forward. But because of the time, I'm not going to bother with all of this. We can assume that these are going to hold the river. And here... Okay, let's see what we can do. More rockets on these guys. This should give us up to the 2-to-1. 1-to-1, but we got the DR. They've won 2 1-to-1s. And look, they've almost pushed the Russians right out of Liam. That's that. Okay, I'm not going to bother with these, as I said. Let's see what the Russians can do on their next turn. So they get a whole bunch more units. Really want to take this out. Whether we can do that with these drones. Use the helicopters on it. Destroyed it. Rockets over here, look, as well. Some coming up here. See, anything expensive that they send is going to get destroyed. They have to send volume. So they can't destroy all of it at once, but and then all the fleshy stuff, the human parts, can be just blown up at will. Right, so he's in the open, so we can definitely take him out. No way he didn't to have got a depression for that. Right. Got some stacks. Right. Right, let's see if we can decimate this stack. All that got just 1.25 and 2.3. Now hopefully we should be able to get a win on this one, because we should have at least 2 to 1, possibly 3 to 1. We were unlucky last time, so we should be lucky this time. Attacker retreats. That was I don't know what happened there. Taking retreats. I think I had a 3 to 1 team. Two to 1. Jeez. The Russians are just doing so badly at getting this sort of advance. So many stupendous odds. 3 to 1. I think this is a really good representation of how I see sort of that urban sort of assault working. I mean, they're taking losses and heavy losses, but they just got superior numbers and superior kit. I mean, it's almost asymmetric now. I mean, the Ukrainians are supposed to counterattack here and there, And I think the nature of the Ukrainian counterattacks are not necessarily flawed, but I think that what's different between this and this all the Syrian stuff is that they do have serious firepower, and when they decide to sort of apply it somewhere, and it's a case of getting it to the right place and right on the front line, you know, if you're going to sort of launch a massive rocket strike, I mean, whoever is being targeted is probably going to get out of the way. You know, it's not a case of sort of superior tactics. It's not like that Call of Duty thing where the people are coming in their APCs and they're all highly skilled with their machine guns. You know, that's what's going to happen. They're going to concentrate their forces on a particular place, and so when the Russians do retreat or suffer serious damage, which is probably inevitable, they call it a sort of victory, but at the same time, it is quite difficult to sort of advance through all of that, and I don't think they've advanced anywhere. You know, so when they make an assault, there's going to be some damage, but I haven't really paid much attention to it, to be quite honest, but it just seems to me that it is, well, I was reading another thing, you know, it's describing what's happening as trench warfare, and it isn't really, because there's not masses of men, you know, there aren't human waves going over the trenches, but it does seem to be very, very slow, and it's frustrating really, because I'd really like to be covering it more, but I'm just so busy, and you know, it's as much as I can do to even remember it's there. But hopefully, this is a sort of holiday weekend, so I've been trying to sort of just relax. And obviously, when I can relax, I can spend a bit more time. You know, this is my relaxation. Until I'm relaxed, because I've got another game out. What I want to do is sort of, I just want to see what the Ukrainians can do. So now we've got this big blue front line, but there's definitely some weak spots. Like, you got to look for the weak spots. So that if I can get this anti-tank forward, so what I want to do is, I can do here 2, 1, this one, 2 damage. So he's on 4 now. Well, we've got some rockets. Ooh, I've not seen that result before. Oh god, that was a You see, the thing is, I'm not thinking. I didn't think of the odds. I clearly thought, oh well, we should get some nice odds here because these units are at 2.2 and 4.4. Clearly, we didn't get over the 5. That's the thing. That's what I didn't calculate. I just assumed they would be, but they weren't. Which means we were only attacking on their normal, so when multiplied. And the AE is obviously attacker eliminated. It took me a few seconds to figure that out, which basically is completely changed it. I thought we'd be pushing the Russians back, but obviously I've made a mistake, which is nothing new. I just wish I had all the time in the world to sit back and play, but I've got to stop now. I just wish that I could just sort of, I don't know, do all the scenarios. It's been a month really. I haven't done much. There must have been so much happening, and it's so sort of interesting to play and to do. But I don't even think it takes a lot of time. I've been playing for 36 minutes, but even that is sort of like, borrowed time, so to speak, because I got to go to sleep. It's only 2:30 in the morning, but hopefully I'll be able to sort of, I don't know, get some more scenarios in place and try and figure out what's happening. But a lot of times when I look at the map, it just looks exactly the same, and it has sort of disappointed me a little bit, because I thought when the Russians get their stuff together, they're going to be, showing the world how it's done, and I thought there would be a lot of mobile warfare in there, a lot of sort of clever tactics, and there didn't seem to be any of that. I think one of the things that I've sort of picked up on is that Russians tend to use conscripts, and it seems to me sort of an interesting way of doing things, because they seem to be sort of giving everyone a chance to prove their mettle, so to speak. They say, oh, they're just sending babies to war, children, and well, the thing is, it's how they deal with it. They can man up, and that's a very sort of possibly I don't know. I'd have to be careful about saying that, because I've thought about it, and I don't know. I just would sort of, I think that I would maybe sort of think this is a bit unfair, because I don't want to die. So this isn't for me. I don't want to do this, but you have no choice. And the casualties on the Ukrainian side are, they speak for themselves, really. 100 people are dying a day. It's not a huge amount, not compared to, say, World War One. But that's still, it must be sort of, they must have some way of doing it, sort of cycling them to the front and then getting them back, so they know that they've only got to do 2 weeks. And if they can just get through 2 weeks, they'll come back with a Medal of Honor. And it doesn't really matter what they did. Just, it must be hell on earth, really, for both sides. But the thing is, it's the same for both sides, and it's like I don't know, it's almost Mad Maxy, it's almost sort of into the Thunderdome. Everything is blowing up, and you probably go there, I don't know, maybe never even see the enemy, just sort of see things flashing in buildings about half a mile away, firing RPGs, anti-tank missiles, watching drone strikes, airstrikes, maybe never even seeing the enemy. But anyway, I'm going to leave it at that, because there's no point playing now. I just wanted to sort of, I think once you get to that, you can see that the Ukrainian defense is going to collapse. And obviously, the Russians come on with even more. They just get more and more. This until about turn 5, I think. But the Ukrainians will get reinforcements, sort of here, and here. I think it's actually sort of just there, and there. So there's 4-point reinforcement points, but they get quite a lot of irregulars. I just put a load of irregulars in there because the irregulars are just tough. You just plonk them in there. But the thing is, once they start collapsing, these Russians are just going to pour through. And, they really needed not to lose all those units. That was stupid. And they pulled these forward. And, once they pull these forward, it means that they're not going to be doing much here. But I think it'd be an interesting game to play it completely full through. Anyway, I'll leave it at that, and I'll speak to you later. Cheerio.